Passion, which is the title track of the album, and I wrote that song. I started getting the melody and the words for the kind of the main chorus of it when I was lying in bed. I wasn't feeling very well, and I think it was about a month ago, just over about 6 weeks ago actually. So it's very recent actually. It's the last track that I wrote, and what I love is that I have a relationship with Peter Fatesi, the guy that co-wrote it with me, put all the music to it basically, and he just allows me whenever I get kind of inspired, I just pick up the phone and say, hey, I want to come in, I've got a song, and I was lying in bed and I could hear it a bit like that song At Last by Etta James.
Okay, yeah.
And I just could hear it, and then I wanted to make it contemporary, but then that kind of like jazz lyrics as well. And I'm really proud of it because it really feels authentic to me, just touch on that kind of stuff. I was listening to Billie Holiday, and so from going from 6 weeks, when I was not feeling very well, to actually penning the song, to 6 weeks later seeing my melody, a 20-piece orchestra, oh my God, I was so tearful. It was the most amazing experience. Do you know what I mean? I was just like, and just hearing those silky strings, I was just going, it was just like, I felt so pleased, and a very overwhelming experience. And it's about, and passion, the song is basically saying, it's going, because love is in season, my passion's in season. It's almost like, I'm filled with, love, and love's always in fashion. And I feel, my head says, my heart says yes, my head says no. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like, I kind of know that this guy's not properly right for me, but I kind of want him. Yeah, it's my pheromones are talking. I'm like, yeah, I want you, but I'm kind of a sensible girl, so I go, no. So there's a lot of inner conflict. That song is about inner conflict. So my new single, Desire, is about kind of sexuality, feeling like a desire for someone, but containing it. I would never tell you that. I'm going to keep this kind of all contained, and the line, but I ain't going to tell you that. The reason why I was using, and then I say, but you're a real catch, but I ain't going to tell you that, because I watched this film, It's a Beautiful Life. Life is beautiful. And the guy says to the lady that he loves, he goes, I want to make love to you 1,000 times, but I would never tell you that. He actually says it, but then he said that it's very funny. So that's where the lyrics of that came. And it's also about the duality of a woman, which I've expressed in the video. The video really is about the song, really. I wrote the storyline for the video myself. And there's one particular bit in the video where I was trying to do it at a point of view where you see, like it's from the side of a window, where you see maybe my legs go in, and then you see suddenly a cat jump on the floor, for the point of view that you'd see it. And when I saw it on camera come to life, it was the most amazing experience, that my imagination had come to life. That was a buzz. That was a buzz. So the video is basically about, do you want me to talk you through the storyline of it? It's girl wakes up, and you see her hit the buzzer, and you see her kind of do a little cat stretch, like, sleepily wakes up, and then she sort of pounces off the bed, and you see her guzzle loads of milk, right? It was, can I just talk about the milk scene? When I wrote the treatment, it was never meant to be innuendo-y. I didn't even think that it would be, right? I just thought about cats drink lots of milk, right? And it's meant to be tongue-in-cheek as well, the whole thing. So you see the milk bit, which is kind of, it's an innuendo. My mother didn't, she watched it and it flew over her head. She didn't get it. I was going, they want to edit this bit down or out. And she goes, why? I can't see anything wrong with it. It's just milk. So anyway, so there's milk, and then there's me walking along, and the dog's like at me. So there's little, indications of, oh, she's got these kind of weird tendencies. And then you see me at work, and it's kind of a little bit Bridget Jones, that kind of, you know, I fancy the guy at work, you know, he's my boss. And there's a moment where he gives me the files and I'm like, thank you for the files. Yeah, I'll do the work. Great. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of, you know, a little bit of a crush on this guy, and it makes working hours so much more interesting. You know, I'm sure we've all done that. And then you see me kind of flirt with him all day, like, hi. And then what happens? Oh, yes, I'm bringing coffee or whatever. You know, it's that little kind of bouncing that's going off the two. It's cute, very cute, very human, very human. I wanted to make this video very human as possible. And and then you see me, there's a dream sequence where, and this is what I'm talking about, what desire is about, the duality of a woman. That, you know, that maybe she's contained in a little, you know, office outfit, but inside there's kind of the pussycat that, you know, which you see in the dream scene, that she's suddenly all vampy and climbs on the desk, and then she kind of rubs on him and then licks his face, which might be edited. There's two versions of the video. The uncensored version, I lick his face, go like that, and the other one, they've taken the lick out. Yeah. I just like, yeah, whatever. I think it's whatever. I mean, I'm European, so it doesn't offend me at all. I think violence in videos is far worse, and it annoys me that rap artists can get away with, you know, tea and bums and boobs and stuff like that. So, you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with just a little lick. I don't think it was bad. Anyway, so I think we're all uptight. Anyway, so I climb on the desk, do this kind of little thing with it's kind of fantasy, you know, of role play, and then suddenly you see me wake up outside the office as if, oh, what happened? And then I feel a bit like guilty and kind of get myself together. And then you see me suddenly he's leaving, and then I leave and I follow him. Okay. And then suddenly you see him go into the house. You see me climb through that window and then drop into this little black cat. Okay. Which is kind of the resemblance of what I am. And then he picks up the cat and then kind of strokes it, and then he puts it on the bed, and then suddenly it cuts to me waking up in the bed and hitting the alarm. Okay. So it was kind of like it was a dream, a big Groundhog Day dream. So it does full circle, which I thought was really cute. Because this is a narrative video, which I've never done narrative, because I always think once you do narrative, you get slaved to the cut of it. And I was worried that in case it can be a bit like if it gets boring. So I thought, okay, let's shoot a little bit of choreography so we can, you know, pop it in there. And anyway, so we do this. It's very much gone from, because in Thriller, do you remember Thriller? And also Bob Fosse. Now I think Thriller must have copied Sweet Charity. If you look at that, there's a scene where they're all zombies, but they do all that, and I wanted to do it all like kind of Sweet Charity. And I worked with this lady called Priscilla. She and I worked together on Wannabe. Since Wannabe. So, you know, I left and we returned back working together. And so she was great on, like, expressing my ideas of this kind of Fosse thing. And so I got some dancers to be, like, kind of very plain secretaries and you know, be in their little outfits. And so then I thought it's quite ironic if suddenly these plain girls are sitting there and then suddenly they go, ba-dum, bum, ba-da, you know. So it's cute. And yeah, so that's just in there in the dream sequence. And that's it. Love Never Loved Me is about, I wrote that song. Bearing in mind, this album has taken me 4 years to write. You know, it's been a journey of 4 years from the first to the last. And Love Never Loved Me was going to be a single before Desire came along. And I was terrified to release it as a single because it's probably the most poetic but personal song I've written, and the most kind of heart and sleeve. And actually, you might think it's kind of a bit sad, but it's kind of bittersweet. Because in the middle eight it goes, I'm willing, I'm ready, even though it's very personal, saying I live for love and all it brings, the heart it heals, the song it sings. You know, for me, love you know, I love love. You know, that I'm such a romantic person. And, you know, when I've entered in and out of relationships, I've used all of them as muses and inspirations for all of my songs. Thank goodness for love. You know, and I still, and yet, and in that song it's saying, you know what, my heart has been broken, yeah, I still believe in the possibility. Actually, sometimes I don't, but sometimes I do. I'm a romanticist and idealist. I think it's the saddest thing in the world not to. Don't you think? Yeah. I can't help it. It makes the world much more rich and colourful and beautiful to me. Yeah. Feel the Fear. I think as a songwriter, I'm really proud of that, and my vocal on that. Lyrically, it kind of started out. It was in 2001, at the beginning of 2002. I wrote it, and I was feeling really quite, I would say, spent with the industry of music and the business of the music business, and I was thinking, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I really have had enough. And I'd watched a movie where I think it was called. It's when there's a big boulder coming to Earth. Deep Impact. I watched the movie Deep Impact, then maybe the night before, and I was feeling really like, oh, what's the world coming to? And I started thinking about, you know, a little bit about. You know, the lyric is that the sky is going to cry tonight, flowing like a river. It's almost like thinking about, what have I done in this world? What are we doing? It's a little bit of that. It's kind of a few subject matters in there, but really feeling woken up and conscious about life and how powerless I am over certain things and how afraid I am over certain things, and you know, feel the fear and do it anyway. You know, is that I think no matter what I experience and do in life, I'm always going to have an element of fear. You know, it's God-given. Okay, Superstar. It's so much fun talking about my music, actually. This is the first interview I've ever. This is the first time I've ever talked about my music. So it's really nice and refreshing. Superstar, again, was one of the first songs written out in Los Angeles with me and Guy Chambers. Now, and it was our getting to know you kind of song. And I think we wrote that one before Loving Me Back to Life. I think we did. And it was up, you know, in this little studio up in, you know, on Mulholland in Hollywood. And in this particular circumstance, I was stepping into his imagination. And, you know, although I rewrote the lyrics again, I updated them, you know, a month ago when I re-sang it, because I kind of wanted to make it even clearer what we were singing about. And it's it's very tongue-in-cheek. You know, it goes, a little bit of something on a badass day can help me ease my mind. It's saying, come on, let's go and get some celebrity. We're bored. You know, let's go get a celebrity. Let's go and get some VIP treatment. Come on, honey, be my superstar. Ooh, baby, I want your hot action. It's kind of Pulp Fiction cheese. There's certain, I don't know if people understand it with me when I'm being, you know, if you watch the movie Pulp Fiction, it's, you know, he talks about cheese royale, good cheese. That song is Pulp Fiction, good cheese. Surrender Your Groove was one of the last songs that that was written, and you know, with that I was stepping into Corpy and Blacksoul, the guys that I wrote Desire with, and this guy Terry. Actually, Surrender, I think I came up with the title of it, but it's, you know, it's about how can I put it? It's almost, I feel like the manifesto of life is surrendering to what is. And whether it's, and I sort of talk about, I recognize, I use metaphors like butterflies on your shoulder, I recognize your fear, your anxiety, and I say it in a pretty way and sort of translate it into music terms. And but surrender your groove, surrender your heart. It's kind of just give it up. Yeah, accept it. Do you know what I mean? And I'm a much more peaceful person when I just accept. And then I love the lyric. My karma's off the hook. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes it feels that could work either way. Do you know what I mean? If you asked me 6 months ago, my karma was like, do you know what I mean? It was not great. Yeah, 3 months ago, everything was like, ugh. And then suddenly, like the swing of karma's gone the opposite. So that's what that song is about. And there's a really sweet middle eight in that as well. Yeah. Surrender Your Groove was one of the last songs that that was written, and with that I was stepping into Corpy and Blacksoul, the guys that I wrote Desire with, and this guy Terry. Actually, Surrender I think I came up with the title of it, but it's it's about how can I put it? It's almost, I feel like the manifesto of life is surrendering to what is. And whether it's, and I sort of talk about, I recognize, I use metaphors like butterflies on your shoulder, I recognize your fear, your anxiety, and I say it in a pretty way and sort of translate it into music terms. And but surrender your groove, surrender your heart. It's kind of just give it up. Yeah, accept it. Do you know what I mean? And I'm a much more peaceful person when I just accept. And then I love the lyric. My karma's off the hook. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes it feels that could work either way. Do you know what I mean? If you asked me 6 months ago, my karma was like, do you know what I mean? It was not great. Yeah, 3 months ago, everything was like, ugh. And then suddenly, like the swing of karma's gone the opposite. So that's what that song is about. And there's a really sweet middle eight in that as well. Yeah. Ride It. Yeah, that was one of the first songs that I wrote for the album. So I'm kind of a bit like, love it. I love the accordion, but it's kind of like, yeah, know it, love it. I'm on to the new. Do you know what I mean? If I'm really honest. Actually, I was listening to it yesterday, and it is beautiful. That da 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 da. That is beautiful. I say that still sounds good, which is great. It doesn't sound dated, which I think the key to knowing whether my songs or a song is good for me, what I use is, does that, for example, Superstar, written 4 years, in 4 years on, it still sounds good to me. But with, a bit of updated production. But the key to a great song is if it lasts. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Oh, there's always tomorrow. Okay, so I was in Los Angeles, and this girl Hannah and Ian Masterson, who I collaborated with, they came out to write with me, and Hannah and I were in this traffic jam, and I was feeling a bit, I just split up. I think I just split up with someone, and but with the beats of it is very kind, south of France, 60s, Brigitte Bardot kind of vibe. And so it took me, music is so powerful, it can take you to another place. which it did. And it took me to a place, Saint-Tropez. And Saint-Tropez for me, and this song is really dedicated to George and Kenny, probably. And George really likes it. I always love it when George likes it. It kind of gives me a seal of approval, you know, like he heard it and he liked it. And it's kind of about, you know, because sometimes I feel so blue inside. So when I'm lonely, I drive to Saint-Tropez. It's kind of, I had a little car of theirs. It was kind of Grace Kelly car, you know, Mercedes, and it kind of gives me that vision. You know, I would drive. Oh God, I so want to go back there. Yeah, and you know, high up in the. Oh, it was just so lovely, and you know, and I had really wonderful summers down there. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I've had some wonderful summers down there. Okay, so I came back and I was going to go on a date with someone. And what I did, because I wasn't feeling any kind of romantic notion for anyone at the time. And so I thought, why don't you imagine if you really loved somebody, this is what you'd say. You know, it's when I look at you, it all makes sense. Do you know what I mean? This is how I feel my perfect love song would be, really. And it's very simple. It's a very understated song. It's not here's the chorus. It's just, this is a mood track. It just flows. And I felt that it was important on this album that it wasn't all kind of shoving it down your throat. Yeah. I felt like, you know what, as an album buyer myself, sometimes I want some certain tracks to sit back. So Always Tomorrow and Let Me Love You More, it's just like, you know what, we're just going to chill. And this is just going to wash over you. This is going to be like a hot bath. And those tracks, and it's a hot bath, I think. Yeah. I've taken a lot of songs on there. There's a song called Disco Sister. I took it off because I just felt like if for a body of work and where Geri Halliwell has moved on, do you know what I mean? And I have to move on. Otherwise, as much as I think, yeah, Geri's Raining Men, wahey, I've got to feel free and grow and be brave enough to feel the fear and move on. Do you know what I mean? And not just talk it, walk it. Yeah. And sometimes that's the scariest thing in the world to do that. Yeah, I wrote this again a year ago, and this song is about self-acceptance. You know, I almost wrote it because sometimes my music, I put this when I was writing the thank yous, has really carried me and almost been like a positive empowerment for myself, like a chant almost. And it really is, I mean, every song is kind of autobiographical of what kind of state of mind I am in. And it was kind of, it goes, take a world where imperfections niggle, makes you feel the pinch around your middle. Got me thinking twice, a girl's allowed to change her mind. And then it goes, fix my tits, my ass, or live a little. And it's kind of like, I'm on a place where I've got a choice where, you know, I've lived in Los Angeles, you know, everyone's very, very much about the outside, which is fair enough. There's a kind of a set way of looking, and I've bought into that. But equally, or I could be brave enough and say, you know what, why don't you just live a little and just forget about the way you look, just, you know, and just, wouldn't it be just easier, just accept the way I look, this is it, you know, it's not really going to get much better. So how liberating is that to accept that I'm 5'2", I've got a funny shaped nose and a big pair of breasts. There's nothing I can do about it. Do you know what I mean? I can just live and accept the way I am and then enjoy it and be grateful for it. And that for me is, that's what the song is about, really. It goes, because what I got is, you know, this is life, this is it. And it's not just about the way I look, accepting life on life's terms. Oh, because sometimes, and it's so about my attitude. It really is, because sometimes I can wake up and go, oh, poor me, nah, 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 nah. Yeah, and then I was having this conversation with someone today. You know what? I went to see a girlfriend yesterday and I listened to what was going on in her life. You know, she was struggling with maybe some bills or stuff like that. I'm struggling with something else. So what happens is it's just a new set of problems that comes. We've all got them, but just different. I've really realised that, and it's whether I go, you know what, it's okay, whatever. It's not that important. Yeah, exactly. So that's there. Loving Me Back to Life. I wrote this in 2001, actually. So it's the chorus. I wrote it on a balcony when I was in Cap d'Antibes. I was roasting on this balcony, working on and I was writing. I can take myself back there right now, in my lyric book, and I had that line, and it's sometimes songs for me different, like the verse might be about something one and then something else, and it's fundamentally about two things. One is about someone who I had a lot of healing around, that I got so much identification from in a very muddled way. It was a fantastic mirror for me, and it was kind of a magic moment that I just feel, yeah, it kind of really loved me in a very unconscious way, and sort of looking back, there's a bit in that, and I kind of, you know, when you sort of work through some issues with, and sort of directed me, and from that moment of meeting that person, I got better. Do you know what I mean? In myself. And it almost kick-started something, you know, some growth and healing to make me look at myself. Yeah. And so I'm eternally grateful to that person. I will always have that connection. And that person only kind of really, we have similar experiences in different ways. But so I'm grateful. And the other is the fans. This song is like, you know what? Thank you so much for loving me when I couldn't love myself. You know, sometimes you have to borrow other people's love, yeah, and other people's validation and acceptance when I'm growing and going through, you know, as we go through our 20-something journey. And my fans sort of giving me something. I was borrowing it. I was almost leaning on that kind of, and it's kind of saying thank you for that. I really recognise and accept that. And I wrote it, and I sort of brought a bit of the lyric and a bit of the melody with Guy Chambers, took it in, and he just took it and went, okay, da-da-da-da. I mean, Guy Chambers is such a great writer. I mean, done a lot of Robbie Williams stuff, and he's just such a talent. So that was really nice to work with him. And I felt it was very old Elton at the beginning with that piano, and then I got Steve Powers to kind of really amp it up a little bit. You know, sort of just make it just a bit of a bigger sound. But and the middle eight of that, okay, this is so funny. My middle eight, you know when you write a song, right? Sometimes the time you get to the middle eight, you're kind of, and every writer will identify, oh, it's the middle eight. It's almost like the commercial break. We've written the song, what should we do for the middle eight? Let's have an instrumental, do you know what I mean? But this, I wrote some lyrics that I wrote on my first ever song that I wrote. And it's not the strongest of middle eights, I have to say. I'm like, it's a bit, drags a little bit, but I kind of left it in there because when I was, I think it was about 18, 19, pre-Spice Girls, I had 6 jobs a week and trying to raise £300 to go into a recording studio. And I was going to record one cover and the other song I wrote myself. And that is, the middle eight you hear, is the chorus of my song, Live to Love, Love to Live. It's what you got to do. Do you know what I mean? I just use those lyrics, which is kind of cute. So I've got to sue myself now. But I just thought it was kind of bringing it full circle, almost nostalgic to myself. Yeah, so that was nice. It's sweet. So I Give Up on Love. It was, when did I write this? Yeah, I wrote it a year ago, and it was one of those things where I just completely expressed myself, you know, And lyrically, I think it's really funny and contemporary, yet musically it's very old school, and it comes back just like a passion. So my album is like a jazz sandwich, old school, you know, that real kind of showbiz, old school sandwich. And I Give Up on Love is really, I kind of use different experiences and use innuendo, you know, when you have a pseudo name. Yeah. So it's very funny. My mum listens to it and she really laughs. And I do use the F word in it, okay? And I am being suggested for like the shops that I take the F word out because I don't give a, what can I do? And I'm just like, I don't know whether to take it out or not, because part of me thinks that's the charm of the song. It's just I say it twice, the F word, right? And, you know, and obviously, you know, some older people might buy it for a younger kid or something like that, the album. I want it to speak to everyone. So I'm in this kind of conflict. I don't know whether to leave it in or take it out. So it's the debate, to leave the F word or not, to F or not to F, do you know what I mean?